and welcome to Trick or Treat. I'm your host, Mike Mayone, and boy, have we got a great show planned for you today. We have, as our guest today, Paul Gertner. Wow, what a spectacular magician he is. And he's going to do some great magic for us, and we're going to look at his career and look at some wonderful clips that he's shared with us and some great photographs. So thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you'll subscribe to our channel, and I hope you'll give us a thumbs up and share the show with your friends and family. And as I said, welcome. Hey, let's start as we do every week with a little bit of comedy.
What can I do for you, Rich?
I want a divorce.
Really? You're married 30 years.
I don't care. I need a divorce.
Well, do you have grounds?
We have 3 acres. What does that have to do with
No,
anything?
I mean, do you have a grudge?
Yeah, we have a 2-car garage. Still
No,
don't
I mean,
see-
like, does your wife beat you up?
I get up at 6, she gets up at 7.
Why do you want a divorce?
Because my wife and I can't have one intelligent conversation.
Oh, and they are a funny pair. That's Monty and Walker. And you can see more Monty and Walker on their website at Monty Walker Productions. They have some great skits. And you can come back next week and see more Monty and Walker. They're really fun. They're fun. And I know you'll like them. So go to their website. You'll enjoy that. Hey, every week we bring to life one of everybody's favorite dead mentalist. We bring him back to life, and he's Alexander, and he's here, and he's got some mentalism to perform for you.
Wow! Hi, I'm Alexander, the man who knows, and I am going to attempt to read your mind. What I need you to do is think of a number from 1 to 10. Now take that number and multiply it by 9. If you got a 2-digit number, take those 2 digits and add them together. Now subtract 5 from that number. What you need to do is take your new number and assign a letter value to it. So, if you ended up with a 1, the letter would be A. If you ended up with 2, the letter would be B. 3 would be C, and so on and so forth. Now take the letter that you came up with and think of the first European country that comes to mind. Now take the second letter of that country and think of any 4-legged animal. Now think of the color of that animal, and if I did my job correctly, you are thinking of a gray elephant in Denmark. Thank you and have a nice day.
Alexander was brought to life by none other than Joe Silkie, good friend, great magician, and fantastic artist. Hey, if you're liking Trick or Treat, give us a thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, do subscribe. Wayne Harhouse, welcome. I see Wayne is watching the show. Thanks for tuning in, Wayne. We have a great show today. If you didn't know already, if you're just tuning in, we have Paul Gertner coming up, and he's going to do some great magic for us, and we're gonna have a great chat. Hey, every week we like to present a fact or fake news, a comment or statement for you to consider. Let's do that now.
Fact or fake news, fact or fake news, fact or fake news.
And this week's fact or fake news Statement. The only woman to fool Penn and Teller on their hit television series Fool Us was French card magician Alexandre de Bouvier. Now, is that fact or is that fake news? If you think you know, well then type it in the comments while we stream, and if you are right, you will win this super medal. Can't be much better than that, right? This super medal. Fact or fake news? Hey, Pascal! Hey, Pascal's joining us. Hello from France. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Pascal. We have a great show today. We have Paul Gertner coming up in a little while. But first, before we go there, we're going to do... Yes, each week we do a little magic short, and usually it's from me because we haven't had anybody make any submissions yet, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. So each week I've been presenting a magic short. This magic short's a little bit on the long side, but I think you'll enjoy it. Watch. I love emojis. They are becoming more and more popular. Just about everyone's using them today. And why not? They're so convenient. Instead of typing away a whole bunch of letters, with one keystroke, you can communicate an entire emotion. Let's suppose somebody asks you a question. If you're in agreement, why say, I agree? Just send a little thumbs up. Are you angry? You don't have to type out I'm angry. A little red face will do it. Now, some people use emojis to write complete sentences. How about this one? Can you figure it out? That's right. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I use this one occasionally. I drank too much beer, now I have to dash off to the toilet. This one my wife sends me after a hard day's work. Please, can I have a bottle of wine? But I must confess, she uses this one much more frequently. That's right. Not tonight. I have a headache. Now, people have been using emojis for thousands and thousands of years. What do you think these are? Emojis. That's right. But what's even more perplexing is the idea that people have been asking the same questions for thousands and thousands of years. See this cartouche? Let me make it bigger. That's right. Even the ancient Egyptians asked the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Now, I like emojis so much, I actually have an entire deck of emoji cards. Let's take a look at them. You can see they're all different. Here's the applause emoji, and the happy birthday emoji, and the please emoji, and the crying emoji, and the I'm sleepy emoji, and the angry emoji, and the heart emoji, and oh, the sad broken heart emoji, yeah. And here's the crap emoji, and that's the holy crap emoji. There's the throw a kiss emoji, and here's the kiss my butt emoji. And that's the Louis C.K. flasher emoji. Anyway, you can see that I have a bunch of different emojis in my deck. Now, we're going to try a little experiment. I've made a prediction. It's right here on my phone, right there. And I'm just going to leave my phone right there, and I'm going to spread out. Before we do that, let's shuffle them up a bit. I'll give it a couple of overhand shuffles to make sure that they're all mixed up. Now, we spread them out, and I'm going to use a pencil and cover my eyes and just drop the pencil right there. Did we land on one? Yes, we did. Okay, this is the one right here on top that we landed on. So that is the emoji that we will use as our selection. And what is it? It's the I'm laughing so hard I'm crying emoji. And as I said, my prediction is right here on the phone. Yeah. Let's see. Uh-huh. Yeah. There it is. Right there. Oh, you're not impressed? Well, I said it was on my phone. Not in my phone. This one's in my phone. No, I said it was on my phone. Yeah, you see that? That emoji, the one we selected, is on my phone. It's a perfect match. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. That was Emoji Presage, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have a magic short and you would like to see it on Trick or Treat, well, do contact me. Hey, Seth Kramer's joined us. Thank you for joining us, Seth. And we have Pascal and Wayne and a few others. Thanks very much. Say hello. Say hello. Hey, we're gonna. You know what? We have such a great guest today that we're gonna just dive right in right now. Usually we do some things from the internet that we find interesting, but today, no, we're not going to do that. I want to spend more time with our guest, so I'm going to introduce him right now with a little bit of video.
The thing I like most about the first time I did Cold on Sugar.
It's Paul Gertner.
Thank you.
Well, hello, Paul, and welcome to Trick or Treat.
Hi, Mike. Good to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you joined us. I have been looking forward to this conversation today. You sent me some pictures; they were just beautiful, and I went on your website and saw some of the various clips we can see that you have accumulated over time. Just wonderful stuff, and just you could just see just from all those little clips. You have quite a repertoire. It's just amazing. So welcome to
thank you.
Trick or Treat. It's so great to see you.
Thank
How are you
Glad to be
doing?
here.
Yeah, great.
I'm doing good, hanging in there like everyone else.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? I did a live show yesterday, and it was just so much fun.
What a concept.
I know. It was such great
For
fun.
like real people. Wow.
It was. I did one Saturday, and I tell you, my mojo was so bad. It was cold, and because I'm doing them outdoors, right? Of course, because we don't want to spread germs, and we don't want to catch anything. So it was like I'm doing multiplying balls, and the balls are falling out of my fingers because it was so cold. Yesterday, thankfully, it was more pleasant. So, what are you doing? Are you performing? Are you doing Zoom shows? Are you what's going on?
I've been playing around with the Zoom show thing, not doing too many really, because I've just been I just to keep my brain active. I set up a little studio, with a couple of cameras and lights. So everybody seemed to be doing that just for fun. And I've done some things with some good clients whenever they've called and said, "Can you do something?" Okay, fine, we'll do something. I don't necessarily enjoy it though because it's sort of like performing in a bubble, and you don't have the reactions and so on like that. But I've enjoyed the technical aspect of figuring out how to make everything work and so on like that. And you've done a phenomenal job when we watch your introduction videos and the music is in there and everything. I mean, people don't understand how much time it takes to put that stuff together.
It surely does. It surely does take time.
It really does. I mean, it's insane that it is. But so it's fascinating when I see someone like yourself who's like, it looks like a TV production.
Well, thank you very much. We try to make it look as good as we can. We try to make it look as good as we can.
It's great.
Hey, I want to start looking at pictures, but the first thing I want to show people is I want to show this piece of video of you from way back. So that's going back a ways.
That's going. I was 18 years old when
18.
that was shot. It would have been 18. And by the way, it looks much better with that music you added.
Well, you know, let me tell you why that music was there. That music was there because I couldn't figure out how to unmute our microphones.
Well, that's good. No, it worked. It was on the timing when the first one appeared. There was a beat, but no, that would have been that was one of the very first tricks I saw my teacher. I was about 16 when I met a guy named Ron Slanina in Pittsburgh, who was a sleight of hand guy, and the very first time I went to see him, he loved Al Goshman. He was following, magic from Al Goshman and so on. And I remember seeing him do the bottle caps. And the moment that first one went across, I can still remember that, like, wait a minute, because I had gone to Ron's house when I was 16. My mother met a lady on the bus. She said her husband was a magician and his name was Ron. And she says, I hear your son likes magic. I see him on the bus with the cards. And I was 16 then. And so eventually we hooked up. And when I went to his house, thinking I was going to really blow his mind. Because, 16 years old, I bought a magic book. I had learned how to do the glide, with the cards where you slide one back and so on the glide. That was my big move. And I was going to Ron's house to kind of say, yeah, I'll go see another magician. I'm going to blow his mind. And so he said, can you do some things and so on? And I did the glide and so on. He didn't react too much to it. And he says, well, let me just show you. And the minute he did that, in the bottles, when I realized there was a whole nother level of sleight of hand magic I had knew nothing about, and it was a real moment to see that, so that was one of the very first tricks he taught me. Yeah.
So you then started what, as a teenager? Were you always interested as a little boy in magic as well?
I was. I was one of those kids that at age 10, I saw a magician in grade school. And he did magic like the plumes that change colors through the newspaper. He did a vanishing cane trick. I remember he rolled a cane up in the newspaper and it was gone. And I remember I wanted to figure out how they were done. But I had no idea there were magic shops. I had no idea there were magic books or anything like that. So I remember figuring the cane trick I worked out where if I rolled, I had a little cue from a game called Karoom, with like a little pull cue, wooden pull cue. And I'd roll that up in the newspaper. And I figured out that if I angled it toward the audience, it could slip out the back and like below the edge of the table and basically lapping. It would fall on the ground on a carpet, but I figured I could do that at the right angle and then it would disappear. So I assumed that's how he did it. I didn't know he used a vanishing cane, to do the trick. But so at age 10, I went to the library and by going to the library, I found that there were kids' magic books. But then the librarian said, you seem interested. Let me show you another area, the library. And we went into the hallway in the big room where there was the adult section. And I went to the adult section where there was a whole range of adult magic books. And it was mind-blowing because there was the Walter Gibson book, the Bruce Eliot, Now You See It, Now You Don't by Bill Tarr. All the books were there. And so I started taking them out one after another, two, three at a time. And just going through those books until I had gone through every single one. But that opened my eyes up to a whole new world, magic books. And then later on, I met Ron at age 16, and he said, oh, there are other magicians. And they get together in these groups called clubs. And there's a club, Magic Club, IBM, and we started going there. And it was like, whoa. And then he says, oh, and there's a place called a magic shop. A magic shop? And we went to Jim Schwoger's House of Enchantment. Which was a magic shop. And so it was kind of interesting how the layers of the onion kept peeled open as you kept finding out there were other people and there were other people that were interested in this. Because, initially you kind of just feel like you're kind of like weird, you're like in the card tricks. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, there are other people that dig this stuff too. So. Yeah.
Was Ron was he a mentor to you then? Because you said he was
without question. Yeah, he was about 15 years older than me. He still lives in Naples, Florida now. He lives in Naples now. He lived in Pittsburgh, and he was about 15 years older than me. And every Thursday night, from age 15 to probably 16 to probably 18 or 19, I would go to his house on a Thursday night. That's when his wife went bowling. Okay, she had a bowling club, and she went off to bowling. and magicians came over. Initially, it was just me and Ron, but eventually it would be a couple of the other guys in Pittsburgh. Nice little group, and he taught me magic. And the key was Ron had a library. See, and Ron had Kabbalah, Talisman, Paul Bearer's Review, Hierophant. He had all the Vernon books, all the Marlowe stuff, So essentially, at age 16, I got access to this vast wealth of information that normally a 16-year-old kid would never have access to. And, I could take home a book on Vernon and read it cover to cover and learn stuff and so on, and get back and work it over with Ron. So it was the access to the library and that information that made a big, big difference, because from age 16 to 18, 19, I really had a lot of information in my hands. And then Ron, he never charged me a cent for a lesson or anything like that. He just was a mentor and a good friend, and still is.
Well, when you see in somebody young who has skills and dedication, and I know you do the same thing. If you saw some spark of a young lad and you could see this guy's he's serious. He's serious.
Yeah.
Here's a picture. This is
happened.
This is a picture that we have. Let's see if I can get it on. Here it is, right here. That's Siegfried and Roy, is it not? Oh no,
Siegfried and Roy. Michael Weber. That's Michael Weber on the right.
Sure. I recognize him now.
Siegfried and Roy, and that was in 1983 at the Desert Magic Seminar. They started a thing called the $10,000 Sleight of Hand Challenge. And that was a show or a competition, and it was a heavy competition that year. It was Michael Weber came in third, I think, and let's see, I'm blanking now. From England, the really funny guy that does the clown, the nose thing on the nose, and so on. Bob Elliott. No, Bob Elliott.
No, Bob Elliott's married.
Bob Reed.
Yes, Bob Reed. Okay.
Bob Reed. Yeah, he came in second. I came in first, and this was so I won, a big prize of money, trip to Japan, and everything like that. And this was the first time I did the finger ring on the hourglass, where I borrow a finger ring and it ends up in the center of an hourglass.
Beautiful.
And I designed that trick for this competition.
Oh.
It kind of was interesting how it came about, because, see, people sometimes say, where did magic tricks come from, and where do the ideas come from? And sometimes they need a motivation. And in this case, what happened was I had bought a brass hourglass a couple years before, and I had played with it. And I said to my wife, a good trick would be to borrow an object and have it end up inside the hourglass. Like I borrow your wedding ring and it goes inside the glass with the sand. And I remember Kathy saying, she says, that'd be a good trick, but that's what every magician would do. She says, if you really want to do a good trick, what you need to do is you borrow my wedding ring and have it appear around the neck of the hourglass where the sand goes through. And I said, yeah, that'd be good, but there's no way to do that. That'd be impossible because of the sand and the glass, and it couldn't be done. And I put the hourglass on the shelf. But that idea was in my head. It was always in my head. And literally 2 years later, I get this flyer in the mail. It says, Joe Stevens holding the Gold Lion Award, Siegfried and Royal, you'll win a Gold Lion, and there was $10,000 in cash on the table for the winner, and it's a first place close-up competition. You got to win first place. And I said to Kathy, I said, if I could figure out how to do that ring on the hourglass, this would be the place to do it. And so essentially that was the motivation, winning that contest, to take the hourglass off the shelf, set it down, and say, okay, fine, how do we do it? And I figured out a method, worked it out, and it worked, and it won the first place at that contest. And so I used it in FISM a couple years later in '85, and then won first place at FISM with the same trick. It was part of my cups and balls, and that's ridiculous. It was part of the whole routine.
Yeah, great.
So it was fun.
Great stuff. But I have to tell you, I like this guy who's with you. He's a champion to me. Mr. Rogers. So you got to work with Mr. Rogers. That must have been
Rogers. Yeah.
I would be giddy if I got a chance to work with that guy.
It was funny because I was probably about 21 years old or something like that when this happened, and I got this call, and they says, we'd like you to be on the Mr. Rogers show. And initially, I had no idea what they wanted or anything, but then I don't know if Mr. Rogers called. It might have been him that called or his producer. I think it was a producer that called and explained the idea behind the show is it was a show about divorce, which is, of all things, you'd think, we're doing a magician, you're going to show about divorce. And what he wanted to show the kids was that when two people are married, your mom and dad are married, and they get divorced, and all of a sudden maybe dad's not in the picture anymore, you don't see him as much. He didn't disappear. He's still here. Okay. He's just in another place. All right. So that was the relationship he wanted to make with the concept of magic on the show. Mm-hmm. So they brought me on the show and I showed them the different tricks I did, cups and balls, trick with a stick and things like that. They also, though, they wanted me to do a trick where they could make something disappear and show where it was gone to. And it was a bit of a pull because I'm saying to them, well, you can't really do that, and I can't do the cups and balls trick and show you where they really are hiding. And so I can't do that. And so then they said, well, could you design a trick that from scratch? And I did, actually. I put together a little trick with the sponge rabbits and a silk where we could show where this rabbit went in the silk, and there were two of them, and now there was just one, and show that the other rabbit was really being held in my hand. And he did that on the show. He says, so really, Paul, it was in his hand. It didn't really disappear, just like, dad doesn't disappear if two people get divorced, And so it was an interesting concept for the show. And that's what he did. But there was a little bit. I did the cups and balls on the show, actually, which is kind of funny, because And when they did the funny thing on the cups and balls is I had a brand new set of rings and things, cups and balls. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just spent, I was only 22 or 21
good money.
Whatever. I just spent some serious money on this rings and things, cups and balls set. And on the show, they said to me, okay, we're getting a little glare from these copper brass cups. Can we tone them down a little bit? We just put a little spray on them. You can just wipe it off. Okay, fine. Whatever you want to do. Destroyed those cups and balls. Whatever they put on them, it ripped the coating right off when I tried to wipe it off and so on. They looked terrible from there on out. So that was the price I had to pay.
Right. But the experience is worth it for sure.
Yeah.
Here's another. This is a young Paul Gertner, with a better haircut, I might add.
That's right. Yeah, I had the haircut a little shorter, and that was in 1978. That would have been the Feather Act in the Feather Act, Feathers and Fire. Actually, it was Feathers and Fire, and it was an interesting time. It was the time where everyone was looking at like Marvin Roy and Norm Nielsen. And we were seeing these 7-minute acts that were taking them all around the world, and everybody wanted to do that. And some of, like even Lance Burton was doing the Doves and everything. Yeah. Of course, a little later, he came to more 81 and so on, 80. And but everyone was trying to do a little 7-minute, 10-minute manipulation act. And I had played around with an idea during the bicentennial, which was in 1976. And I was doing stuff with red, white, and blue. There's photos of it that you'll never see, but it was an act with red, white, and blue, silks and feathers, and a lot of feathers for some reason. There was a company called the South African Feather Company in Philadelphia. And they were the ones that sold the big ostrich plumes that were used in the Mummers Parade. Okay, that's where you got them. And I remember going there, and I bought a whole bunch of these feathers, red, white, and blue feathers, and the 36-inch ones. They were $36 for a dozen of the 36-inch ones, and I bought them, and I put together an act, but it never really obviously went anywhere because after the bicentennial, no one really cared about a red, white, and blue magic act.
Of course.
However, I shifted and I said, well, then there's other colors of feathers. And I started doing this act. And it took about 2 years to design. And it was all with feathers and fire. So wherever, like in a dove act where a bird would appear, pop, at the end, a feather would appear. I'd have a feather and a balloon would bounce, or a piece of fire, and balloon would bounce on the fire and then pop and a feather would be there. And at the end, it had a really cool ending with a big bowl, a brandy snifter, filled with feathers that kind of spangled out with like the beads and the feathers streaming out. with glitter in there, and there was glitter around. Then at the end, the bowl turned to fire, and it was there's some nice magic in it.
Yeah.
But I only did it up until 1981. Last time I did that act was in 81 at the Pittsburgh IBM convention. And then I kind of closed that because I was doing more trade shows and things like that.
Which is,
and I was never going to be a feather. I was never going to be a Norm Nielsen on stage. I just couldn't do it.
No. But you did quite a bit of trade show work over the time.
Oh yeah, that's where I made most of my living. Yeah, doing the trade show work. It clicked, and I started my first trade show in '75, and so on.
Now this looks like the hourglass trick you just mentioned a few moments ago.
That's the hourglass. Yeah, because David Copperfield, he had right as soon as he saw me do it, he kept calling, year after year, kept wanting to do the trick. And initially I kept saying, no, I still want to do it. I'm still doing it. And, it'll become identified with you or something. And eventually, when I realized, Kathy, my wife says, look, just, he's called 4 or 5 years in a row. Just, stay to Copperfield. Come on. So we said, okay, fine. So he bought the rights to the trick for his television show. And initially I said, and he says, and Paul, he said, no, I'm going to do it around the country and in my shows. So, you have to come to Atlantic City and, show me what you're doing, give you all the work on it. And then we're going to design it for me. And initially I said to him, well, why don't you just, not do it around and just do it on the TV show? And so that way, you won't do it in front of all your audiences. You'll just do it on the TV show. And he sort of laughed. He says, Paul, more people are going to see me do it on that TV show than are ever going to see me in a live theater.
He's right.
And then he says, and he's right. And he says, and plus, he says, the way I make a trick perfect for the TV show is to do it thousands of times in my live theater shows. And I thought about it, and I said, yeah, obviously he's right. He's right. So I said, okay, fine, do it in your live shows too. And he did. He designed a different method, but he did it and he used it, and it was kind of nice to see him do that.
I bet it was. It must have been great fun. It's
It was
great
good
story.
for-
I just absolutely love this picture because it has another hero of mine in it, and that's Johnny Carson. But I want you to talk to me about Johnny Carson. But first, I want to share with everybody this great clip from The Tonight Show.
I'll tell you, we'll try one last quick thing.
Pinky Lee lives.
Take a look. Take a look in the hat. Now make sure it's empty, okay?
It's empty.
Now,
It's empty. It's empty. Okay.
we use the hat,
All right.
3 dice, and a magic wand.
All right.
Okay, it's pure sleight of hand.
Okay.
Now the hat stays on the table, the dice stay on the table, the wand in hand.
Uh-huh.
Now if you watch the first die, if I take it in hand and give it a tap, it leaves the hand and jumps under the hat.
There it is.
That's the first time. Now I'll do that again. Watch, I just take the die in the hand.
Right.
And if I give it a tap, did you see it leave yet?
Not yet, no.
That's because it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I have to take and tap it twice, and then it jumps
That's
under the
nice.
hat. In fact, this time I'll show you how the trick is done.
Sure you will.
Okay?
Sure.
No, really, I will.
Okay.
See, I take it in the hand, and as I tap it, I
Yeah.
quickly take it from here over to here.
Oh, I see.
Now, I pretend to put it in the pocket, but really, I slip it like this,
Right.
see it? Under the hat, and it looks like it was there all the while.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the easy way.
Right.
If I do it the hard way, look, 2 in the hand, 1 stays in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
If I give it a tap, there's 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
That's 2 in the hand, 1 stays in the pocket.
In the pocket.
If I give it a tap, there's 1, 2, 3. This is your last chance. Here, look, that's 1, that's 2, in the pocket.
Yes.
Where do you think they are?
They're gone.
No, they're all gone. Take a guess. Where do you think the dice are?
Probably under the hat.
Would you be shocked if they were under the hat?
Yes, I would.
Surprised, maybe, or mildly amused. They've taken... No, they're under the hat. That's the small one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, see, I know where that comes from. I know where that comes from. What I can't figure out is where in the world did that one come from? That's funny. I didn't say. Dice come in pairs. See, they're both there. See?
That's nice. And there it is.
Very good.
That's good stuff. That's really nice. We'll be back. Paul and Barbara.
What a great clip, and
Yeah, that's a fun clip.
Did you enjoy working on the Tonight Show? How many times did you appear on the Tonight Show?
Yeah. Did three appearances with Johnny. That one would probably be the second one, I think. The second one, yeah. And And it was great to work with. It was interesting on that little clip. There were two interesting things when you look at it, and that is online. It's on YouTube. For some reason, Carson Productions has not pulled that one down. I have no idea why. Every once in a while, somebody, if you put up something, it gets pulled down. But they've left that one up there. But if you look at it, there are two interesting things there. Number one, at one moment during the trick, Johnny reaches over and picks up the hat.
Picks up the hat. I saw that, yeah.
Revealing the medium-sized eye.
Medium-sized eye, yeah.
Medium-sized eye. And I didn't want him to do that, but he thought I was cueing him to pick up the hat. And so you can see how I handled it, put it back down and then boom, picked it up again. And that was an interesting moment. And the other thing was interesting was at the very end, you'll notice he picks up a die, puts it in the hand and vanishes the die. Okay.
Yes, I did see him because he was a bit of a magician as well, wasn't he?
Oh, sure. Johnny was a magician as a kid. He did magic and had great Carsoni, he called himself, and so on. But he did that occasionally when there was a magician on the show or they were talking about magic. And I always viewed those little things as those were little signals to the magicians in the audience that I'm one of you. And he might do something like that. One time when Doug Henning was on the show and he did a card trick with the nudist deck and so on. Johnny at the end says, "Ooh, rough and smooth," rough and smooth. And he wasn't giving away the secret. He was just cueing the magicians that he was in on. He knew. And I always sensed that about Johnny. While he became a very famous, comedian and celebrity and so on like that, in his heart, he was a magician. And he loved magic still to the very end. And so that was interesting.
Well, that's interesting.
That was a shot from his, that picture you put up was a shot of him at his home in Malibu. Johnny would invite me, to home. I'm not sure how many times, maybe about 3 or 4 times over the years. Yeah, but probably 4 times. That one was shot by Dean Dill.
Oh, no kidding.
Dean Dill, California. Yep. Dean had met Johnny at the Hollywood Magic Shop. The owner called and says, "Hey, Dean, come down here. Carson's here." And he got to know, he showed Johnny a few coin tricks, and Johnny loved coin magic. Next thing you know, Dean got invited to Johnny's house. And I had been invited to his house, a little bit before because I was on the show. And Dean and I were at a convention one time, and we said to each other, he says, "Are you coming out to California anytime soon?" And I says, "Well, actually I am, doing a trade show and, 6 months from now." He says, "Were you going to call Carson?" I said, "Well, I was planning on it." He told me when I come in town, give him a call and maybe get together. He says, "Why don't we both call him at the same time and we'll bring a camera and maybe we can get a shot." So that was Dean's idea. And so we went and we called up and, I said, "Johnny, I'm coming out for a trade show in a month. Can I want to get together?" And, "Oh yeah, I'd love to. And I says, "Hey, Dean's going to be in town too." "Oh yeah, sure. Tell Dean." And so we both got the invite and we both showed up. We got there and this was on Father's Day. Actually, if you look closely at the shirt, it says All-Star Dad.
Oh yeah.
And that shirt was given to him by his son. I believe Jody is called his son, Jody, who passed away in a car accident. And so that shirt was given to him by his son, and he wore it on Father's Day. And Dean and I were there. And at one point, Dean says, "Hey, Johnny, you mind we get a shot? I have a camera here." "Oh, yeah, no problem, guys." Boom, clip. And we both got. So Dean has some shots of himself with Carson, and he took some, and I'm sure his son and his wife still have those shots on the wall because I saw him in his house when I was there. Dean, of course, passed away, and I still have the shots Dean took of me.
No,
so,
that's
cool.
it. That's a treasure. That's for sure. That's a treasure. And
this
is from the show.
Yeah.
It looked like Johnny made you share the die trick with him.
Yeah. I'm doing the black and white photo there has an hourglass, but I'm not doing the ring on the hourglass. In that one, I did a trick where I had a card, a bill, a $20 bill, end up inside the hourglass, with the sand, a little twist on a card and a wallet, and so on. Yeah, that was a good one.
And he brought you to the desk.
And I got to the desk. Yeah, that was interesting because that was not so. Well, real quick story on it is you always want to kind of get to the desk with Johnny, and first few times, of course, that didn't happen because I would do my set, he would come out and sit with me, and then he would leave, and so on. So on the last time I was on the show, they said, "Hey, Paul," the producer Jim McCulley, talent coordinator, said, "Hey, Paul, Johnny wants you to come over to the desk after your spot. Do you have some time? Do you have something to do? I said, oh, yeah, I got a coin trick I could do at the desk, sure. So I'm all ready for it. And then they came to me right before the show started. They say, Paul, there's not time to go to the desk because, Pete Fountain, the clarinetist, is it clarinet or flute? I'm not sure. He ran overtime. And he was on a little longer. They said, so you're not going to go to the desk. I said, okay, fine. And so we were at the table, finished the trick. Boom, it's over. Johnny shakes my hands, gets up and says, hey, we'll be right back. And he's walking to the chair to sit down. And as I walked to glance at Johnny walking back, I realized Pete Fountain, I see him out of the corner of my eye, stood up. He made eye contact with me. And he stood up and he moved over and he sat down, leaving the empty chair. And I literally had like 30 seconds to say I can remember in my head saying, 30 seconds, we're coming back from commercial. That chair is empty. Johnny's getting ready to retire in a couple weeks. What the hell? And I bolted to the chair, even though they told me I wasn't to go to the chair. I bolted to the chair and sat my butt down and sat right there. And Johnny looked at me and he winked. He looked at me and he winked because he knew what had just happened. I sat down. They came back and Johnny says, and we're here with Paul Gertner. And so, Paul, beautiful job. Thanks for coming. And that was the shot I got. So sometimes I tell that story and I say, when the window of opportunity opens, you got to jump right through. And sometimes it doesn't stay open for long. And I had a 30-second window there. And I figured, what could they do? Yell at me afterwards? It's my last time on the show. Wouldn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. This looks like a picture from Fool Us, which you've been on.
Yeah.
Is it 4 times?
Yeah, I've done it 4 times now. And this is the 3rd time. I did the cups and balls, added a little kicker with the Coke can. That can is taller than the cup, as you can see. Yep. And that can just came out of the cup. And that little trick, and then I popped open the can and poured it was full. It's a full can of Coke, and it poured out a cup of Coke, and so on like that. So, but the can, that little, what you're seeing right there, that took about 600 hours to figure out how to do that. So I literally did. I was obsessed with this idea of lifting up the can and having, something like that, a big object come out of a small, and figure out a way to do it, and figured out a different method of accomplishing it, and so on like that. And it worked, but it didn't fool them.
No. But you did fool them 2 times, yes?
Yeah.
You
I can show you one day. I got one of the tricks. One of the tricks, I fooled the trick. The first time I fooled them with this trick here.
Are you going to do that for us?
Yeah, should we do it?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let me give you the full screen here, and you can.
If you want. Yeah, this is my favorite trick.
Is it?
Yeah, it's done with the deck of marked cards. Okay. And now you can see they say marked cards. Okay, they might be say marked cards right there, a little closer. But actually, if I open them up, you can see they have little marks on the edge of the deck. Now I'll let you see the little marks just from above, so you can see it's a little like a barcode. There's information there that don't really mean anything, and if you notice, they're all mixed up: red and black, hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades. Okay. So now I'm going to have one card selected from the deck. So, Mike, as I drop the cards, all I want you to do is just say stop anywhere. I'll say stop.
Stop.
Right there.
Okay.
Sometimes there's a little time delay. But if you look at the card, okay, hold it up. I'll sort of hold it here, maybe a little closer so everyone can see. Okay. And I don't know if it's in focus, but you can count the number of spots on the card, or if it's a picture, you can look at it. And I'll place it back in the pack, and I'm going to lose it in the deck, but I'm going to give the cards what we call an unshuffle. Now, unshuffle means I divide the deck exactly in half, just like that. Okay. And then if I give the cards an unshuffle, I literally interweave the cards like this. And now it looks like a shuffle, sounds like a shuffle, but it's not. It's actually an unshuffle. In fact, if you take a close look, you can see the word. I'll get it right here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out this framing here. See, it says unshuffled.
Yeah,
it says unshuffled.
It looks like it 4 times. Yeah.
Now look, I know that's a little hard to see. So here, I'll help you with a magnifying glass. I think you can see it says unshuffled 4 times. Here, we'll just do that on the side of the deck. Whatever. And if I give the cards another perfect unshuffle, just like this, okay. Nah, but we have to hit it perfect. It has to be perfect. There's no margin for error here. And if I hit it just right, You can see it now. It says unshuffled
Twice.
2 times. See, twice. See, then that means they've been unshuffled into all the red cards are in one group and all the black cards are in another. That's why it says unshuffled 2 times. Okay. But if I give it one more unshuffle, here, I'll do it with the overhead. One more unshuffle. This is what gets kind of interesting because now this deck of cards is completely unshuffled.
Shuffle.
And if it says unshuffled, I have to show you all the hearts, all the clubs, all the diamonds, all the spades. It's in brand new deck order, just like a brand new deck. And that is an unshuffled deck of cards. But there is one more detail. You selected a card, and it's somewhere here in the unshuffled deck. Now, I won't look for it face up. That's too easy. I'm going to find your card face down. Do you remember the name of your card?
Yeah, it was the 10 of hearts, I believe. Yeah.
Actually, I think it was the 8.
Oh, it's the 8. 8.
Eight
Okay.
yeah, that would have been the 8 of hearts.
8 of
If you
hearts.
watch close, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
there it is.
yeah. There it is, your 8
8 of hearts.
hearts, just like that. And so anyway, that's one of the tricks that I had a little kicker for Penn and Teller, how to fool them. And,
Yes, a
but that's one of the
fooler.
tricks that fooled
It
them.
was a
Yeah,
fooler.
That was the first time. Yeah, yeah.
Was it fun to work on the Penn and Teller show? Or
no,
too
it's definitely
stressful?
fun. Definitely fun, very stressful. Okay.
Very stressful.
I mean,
Yeah.
the first time I was on, and I did that unshuffled trick, and I'm doing this for magicians called a Pharaoh shuffle, where a very special shuffle. You got to hit everything perfect.
Yeah.
If you have one card off, the trick just
Doesn't
blows
work.
up in your face. Doesn't
Yeah.
work. And I'm literally trying to keep my hands from shaking, and I can feel the left hand going, and so I'm bracing my hands on the table just like that, to make sure that I, just make sure I don't shake. And but they're very good to work with. They do everything they can to make sure you have people to take care of you and tell you what to do, when to be here, and the rehearsals. They give you a chance to rehearse it with the camera and everything like that. So, but it's each time there's a stress level that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And the last time, not as much. Last time I felt a little better, but it's fun. I mean, I enjoy it because it's sort of like doing a magic competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked magic competitions. I used to be in them a lot, and so on. And but it's like going to a magic competition, but the only thing you have to do is fool the 2 judges, and that's what you're trying to do. And they're very honest about it. If they don't think you're not fooling them, they tell you.
Yeah.
They
Well,
let
what's
you know.
interesting in the way they tell you is much the way
Yeah.
Johnny Carson, which you mentioned, would signal to other magicians that he's
Right.
part of the fraternity.
Right. Yeah, they use speaking code, and
Yeah.
they say certain words that the magicians understand, and the magician goes, "Okay, yeah, he said the XYZ maneuver, he got me."
That's what makes the
And
show kind of fun.
interesting thing is, yeah, if you were to push it and you were to sort of fight back a little bit,
You don't
the
want to.
thing is then Penn will start to move a little closer to revealing what. Not that he's going to reveal it, but there's a little bit of a dynamic. So you don't want to push it too far and say, "No, well, technically you got me, but you didn't get this little point." And then he'll come back and say, "Oh, really?" So you got.
Yeah, what's interesting
if they get you.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is there are so many components to a good magic trick that I can sense that some of the contestants will sort of know that they got a chunk of it, but they didn't get this one detail that they're very excited about or that they feel they own, and yeah, that must be a tricky that point to push it over.
Yeah, it is. They tell you up front. They're very honest with you. Say we want it to look like a good TV show, and it's not going to look good if you're saying, "Well, you didn't get this," and you argue too much back and forth. So, but they let you know up front. Just best thing, if they got the gist of it and so on like that, and you usually know they most of the time they do. There's very little that gets by them. But every once in a while, like you watch somebody on the show, and sometimes they were fooled by some very simple aspect of it, just like misdirection can fool anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Misdirection can fool Penn and Teller too.
Yeah.
And there are times on that show where the audience might say, "Really? that got by them, but it did in that one moment.
Yeah.
In that one moment, if the performer did it just right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure. And of course, Johnny Thompson was a part of that show for the first few seasons.
Big part of
wasn't
that
he?
show. Yeah, that's him and Pam. And Johnny was there every time I taped, except for, of course, the last one.
Yeah.
And he was always there. He and Mike Close working on the show, and of course now they do the Penn and Teller do the Thompsonian act.
Yes, I know they do. I've heard they do. I just, Tommy and Pam were
doesn't work for you.
No, it didn't work for me, to be honest. They were just. I mean, he was just perfect when he did that, and I will I will cherish the times that I got to see him lecture, because he would talk about the different components of that act, and how he met Pam, and how he used to play harmonica. I think it was harmonica. When he first started, and he had so many great stories to share. It was just fantastic to listen to him. This looks like the Magic Castle, which which I'm sure you've performed at many times if you've been out there.
Yeah, many times. And, that's the close-up room in the Magic Castle, which is my favorite room without question. I've been there, and I've worked all the rooms in the castle, the stage even. In fact, I did the Feather Act that you showed pictures of. I did that on the stage thing in the castle many years ago, and Peter Pitt worked with me on the act at the time, trying to make it more visual and everything. But that was a fun room. But for the most part, when I go there, I just like the close-up room. And that's, if I could take one place and just move it around with me for a performance all over the world, that would be the close-up room of the Magic Castle.
It's like perfectly designed for close-up.
It's perfect.
It is. They really put that together well.
Yeah.
Now this looks like royalty. She is, no?
Oh, Duchess of York. Yeah. That was at a little swanky little private party of a billionaire, literally, here in Massachusetts, who was having a little event, and I think.
That was right. That was right in Massachusetts, where you are now.
Massachusetts. Yeah. That's where I am now. And he was having a little party for the Duchess of York, and on his rather large estate. So I was there, and not to perform. I was actually just a guest at a PR firm, and eventually got to do a little magic for her and so on. So somebody snapped that shot, and it was good.
Yeah, it's great. You love to have those kind of pictures. Here's a picture from a routine that you do with iPads, and I got to see you do that at the 4F convention, which was a delight to see. That was
one of the routines from a show I put together called Brain Drops, as in brain drops. It was a weird trick. It was that involved an iPad, and would put on my face, and eventually my face would come through. And there was a moment where I picked up a cigarette and took a puff on the iPad and blew out the smoke on the iPad, and then smoke came out from behind. So some photographer got a really nice shot of that.
It's a beautiful.
I think that was a TEDx talk. I think, that was at a TEDx talk somewhere along the line. But that was a weird trick, I mean, it was another trick. It was another one of those tricks that came about because the recession had hit in 2008, 2009. Everybody's work pulled back a little bit, especially in the corporate market. And we all had a little more time on our hands. And that's what came out of that extra time on my hands, was creating a whole new show. Technically, initially it was just one trick with the iPad and so on like that, and but it also involved a little miniature tree that I would produce and set down, and the tree would slowly grow flowers, little red feather flowers and so on. But it was hours and hours of designing the thing and building it, and I'll probably never do it again. It was so complicated, but eventually I put it into a whole show called Brain Drops. It was kind of about technology and how we think, and it was fun. Did it in theaters for a little while.
Well, and I think the clip it must have been the clip that we had at the beginning for your introduction, had a beautiful piece where you slice part of it and lift the top off.
That was the end of the act. Yeah, that was again where I put because I started with the iPad at the beginning of the show, and at the end of the show, I would bring it up and put it on my head and take a knife, slice the top of my head, take off the top of my head. What I would actually do then is I would reach in, you'd see my fingers come in the iPad, and I would remove my brain. Okay. And I would hold my brain here. I would take a needle and I would stick the needle in the brain as the face would do in different on the iPad.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Go, all different contortions, touching different signal parts of the brain. And then at the very end, I would slam the brain down on the table and I would die. So, now, I know it sounds kind of crazy.
Yes, it does.
It was a little dark. and I did it for a number of corporate events because, I loved the idea and so on like that. And I did it for a number of corporate events. But the audience stood there and watched with their mouths open. They had no idea what to say about it. And I very quickly realized, okay, this might be okay for a theatrical, but you can't do this at a corporate show because they didn't know what to say. Yeah. They really didn't.
I can see that.
It was great magic. I think magic is like that, though. Something you got to take chances.
Oh yeah,
and like with the iPad Act, the Brain Drops Act, I did a couple different magician events and so on like that. Many magicians, including very good friends, they hated it. They absolutely hated it. They wouldn't tell me that, but I know that.
Oh really?
And, okay. Oh yeah. I could see in the way somebody was. Oh yes, have you seen him do that? Oh my God! And they just despised every moment. But I found it interesting. There was some really, really good magic and so on like that.
Besides being good magic too, and just the technology and the incorporation of the technology and those, put the hand down and the timing on that had to be very well rehearsed. Very well rehearsed. I can, just from doing this little show each week, I know that was a good part of the effort. Hey, you also publish a lot of magic and make it available to the magic community, not just to David Copperfield. What I have to ask you now, Unshuffled, it looks like a piece that you share with the magic community.
Yeah.
And that's been out for a few years, has it not?
That's been out for many years. Yeah. That's
which 30 years. which was out available to the magic community, and you still fooled Penn and Teller with it. So
I just added a little twist on it and so on like that. That's the unshuffled kicker there that Vanishing Ink put out is the kicker that I added the unshuffled to fool Penn and Teller. So so every once in a while I have an idea for a trick, but I don't market a whole lot with the magic and so on like that, because mostly I've been doing corporate shows and so on. But it's fun to have something like that, and I did Penguin Live and that online lecture. That was a fun thing. To do.
And here are some pictures that I took from, and I promised to get you copies.
Yeah, these are great. I love them.
These are from the many times that you've performed at the 4F convention, which is a great convention, and you did part of your iPad act there, and that's the one in the lower right hand corner. And
that's actually on the picture on the corner. That's Kathy's high school photo.
Oh, is it?
And,
were you high school sweethearts?
I met her when she was 16. And she was still in high school. And so that's her high school photo that she signed to me. And which I think she wasn't, we weren't sure we were going to get married or go together at that time. And I think she was, I was a little concerned about, me being she wasn't concerned about me being a magician, but she was concerned about, would I be able to do magic as a living? And she always thought I was going to move to Hollywood or California or something like that. So I think that photo has some inscription, about, if you ever see this photo in an old drawer, labeled "Old John." Remember the good times we had. So it's kind of neat that I still have that photo and we're still together.
Oh, it is indeed. It is indeed.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I heard a story you told once that that she was ready to go off to Boston and leave you in Pittsburgh because you have a grandchild up in
Oh yeah, we had
New
two
England.
grandkids in Boston, and that's when we were ready to leave our we had a big house in Pittsburgh, and we were ready to there was just two of us rattling around in it, and my son was in Denver and my daughter was in Boston, and we were trying to decide, and she kind of said, well, I'm moving to Boston to see the grandkids. You're welcome to join me. Because, no, let's do it together. So we've been here about 5 years.
Now, and in that area, you have your own show that you're doing now.
Yeah. I started that about 2 years ago, and at the Omni Parker House Hotel. It's a little close-up show, so you can see that's a big 7-foot round table, and I have 12 people in the first row, and then I have 2 other rows. So we maxed it out at 34 people per show, and we do like 2 shows a night on a Friday night.
Now it's just a hotel suite, so it's not tiered. No. How did you accomplish that third row having a view?
A good site. That's tricky. We use bar stools for the third row.
Okay, that's clever.
We're sitting on the high, tall bar stools, and that helps a lot. And that makes it basically possible. And we kind of space out that second row so they're sort of between the first row.
Between the seats. Yeah,
between the seats. And that's about the best. And that could I go more than 34? Yeah, if you could squeeze a little more in, maybe. But the room is a small room that we're using, and that's about right for us. And with that, when we sell out, we were doing nice and so on, and that was great until February 28th, and then all of a sudden the March 6th show is canceled, and then everything, for everybody happened.
Is the hotel even open at this point? I know that
they were closed for 7 months, which shocked me. I never thought a big hotel like that would close for 7 months, and they reopened, which is really good because there's one of the Omni Berkshire in New York did not open at all. They closed permanently.
Permanently.
Yes, and I was really, really worried that was going to happen here, but they did open. I went down there the other day to check it out. Man, it's
ghost town, right?
Yeah. So on. Yeah, it is. And I talked to the hotel the other day just to get a handle on what's the potential.
Sure.
And they said, well, you have certain restrictions about how many people would have to get you a bigger room. You'd have to space the people out. The only problem is it would have to be a different type of show. It wouldn't be a close-up show anymore. Well, it would be more of a stage or parlor show.
Have you seen what Jason Ladani's done with video for his show? Jason just does cards all the time, so he's he's on the cards, and now that you're getting technically to be a whiz,
little bit.
He's put together just the right combination of a small camera, small projector, and a screen that allows a larger audience to see a lot. It'd be worth investigating. Even if things were smaller, you could even make it just a little bit bigger of an audience, and you didn't have to worry about the COVID.
Yeah.
I would love the show is Trick or Treat. You've already given me a trick, but you have another one you can share with us. Fantastic.
Yeah. Sure. We'll do something with the cards.
Great.
Just one of the things I've been playing around with a lot is I've gotten into some of the gambling stuff because it involves a lot of practice. So here we'll just do a little thing where if we're going to do some shuffling and cutting. Watch, this would be something called cutting to the aces. Okay, where you cut after you shuffle them, you're going to try to find the 4 aces one at a time, and the next one would be right about here. Okay, now the next ace, if I give it a shuffle and I give it a cut, we might find the next one right about here, and the last one might be right about there. See, now that's finding the 4 aces.
That's fun.
However, if we find the 4 aces, what are we going to do with them? Well, we're going to want to cheat. We're going
Right.
to want to deal them to ourselves or maybe our partner. Now, if you were my partner, Mike, I'd want to give you all 4 aces. I might have them here. And then I might do what we call a second deal. So I'd have the ace on top, and I'd have to deal around the table to everyone else. And as I deal around to everyone else, they get a card, but you get the ace. There,
Sure.
just like that. Now let me do that. Let me do it so you can see it happen face down. Since this is called a second deal, see, I give everyone else a card just like this. But what I'm doing is I'm holding your ace on top. And if I do it face up, you can actually see it happen. See, you see, I'm literally keeping the ace on top as I deal. And then whenever I want you to get the ace, I would give you the ace. That's called a second deal. Now I could also deal them off the bottom of the deck. I could put the 4 aces on the bottom of the deck like this, and maybe I would take and I would deal around the table like this. But every time I come to myself, I'm going to take and I'm going to perform what we call a bottom deal, and I'm going to literally deal the 4 aces to me. See, just like that. And sometimes when you do that, people say, did they really come off the bottom? And they did. Here, I'll show you. See, if I put them on the bottom and I'll leave them face up so you can see them on the bottom. All right. And so if I deal them around the table just like this, you can actually see them just magically appear just like that. So each time you come, and that's what we call a bottom deal. Okay. So that's those are a few ways of cheating with cards. But let's see, try one other thing here. Shall we do maybe we do one other thing here? We'll do the real cheating game, which is played on the street corners of New York City. Do
Fantastic.
the cups of balls.
All
Okay?
right. Yes.
Now this is a trick. I've probably been doing this trick almost as long as any other trick I've done. Because true story was, I bought some old cups in at an auction, like a magic auction, where they sell old props and so on. And the cups I bought were beaten up and pretty ugly. And I brought them home, and I wanted to use balls for the trick, but didn't come with any balls. So I made tinfoil. I rolled up tinfoil into little silver balls. And I started doing the trick with tinfoil balls. And it worked. And then I was in my dad's toolbox in the basement. And he was a steel worker in Pittsburgh. And for some reason, he had brought a box of ball bearings of different sizes. And they were shiny because he had shined them up on the polisher and brought them home. And we actually used them for marbles and playing with them. And I found one about the right size, and I started using the steel ball because it looked better than the aluminum polished, tinfoil ball. And I started using steel ball. So that's how I started doing this trick. Anyway, so let me see. I'll do this. Just let me get this straight here. So it was 3 cups and a ball. The ball, as I mentioned, normally you use in this trick is a little rubber ball. And the ball is placed underneath the cup. And you have to guess where the ball is. Okay, that's the idea. It's called the 3-shell game. They play this on the street corners of New York City. Normally, they use a rubber ball. And the ball is made of rubber, the cup metal, and you can't see it, you can't hear it. Okay? And they also have the ability to put the ball under the cup, and they usually have a stick in their hand, magic wand, tap it. Sometimes they use a cigarette in their hand, and the ball disappears. See? And then they can find the ball in their pocket. Now, that's because they have the ability to bring the ball in and out of the game. However, as I mentioned, I started not with a little tinfoil ball or a rubber ball. I started with the steel ball that I found in my dad's toolbox. Now, this made it different because with the steel ball, here, get rid of that. With the steel ball, you can hear it. Okay? Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you know where the ball is. So with a steel ball, the only way I can make it work is if I make the ball disappear. See, just like that. See, and have it jump over here inside my pocket. Now, that's the first time I'll do that again. If you watch the ball, Mike, I'm going to have you take a guess whether you think it's under cup number 1, 2, or 3. This will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3.
I'll take a guess.
Take a guess.
Number 1.
Number 1. Let me just check. You were right. Yeah. No matter what you choose, you're a winner. Yeah. 3 cups and 3 balls. But now we're ready to start the trick. Now, if you watch the ball right here, whenever I give it a push, it will go right through the top, balanced on the edge, just like that. I'll do that again. This one will go right through the top of 2 cups. Watch. 1, 2, 3. Balanced on the edge.
Beautiful.
Okay? But I want you to know exactly where the balls are. So whenever I cover one, I'll give it a little shake so you can hear it. Okay? I'll place 1 ball under each cup. That's ball number 1, cup number 1. Ball number 2 under cup number 2. Ball number 3 under cup number 3. And if I take 2 of them invisibly and I set them down and give them a little tap, you see now those 2 are gone and they've all come together in the center. But it is the end of the trick, and I'm going to put them all away. So I'll place 1 ball under each cup. This is the moment it gets kind of interesting. If I take 1 ball and I place this one inside my pocket, that leaves me with just 2 balls. And if I take 1 ball right here and I place this ball inside my pocket, Mike, how many balls does that leave underneath the center cup?
Just 1.
Yeah, just 1. But if there's 1 there, there's 1 over there, and I'll show you how the trick is done. You see, I never really put the ball in the hand. I never really put the ball in the pocket. But while you're watching the pocket, I slip the ball under an empty cup, and it creates the illusion. It looks like it was there all the while. But if I really get rid of it, take one last guess. How many balls under the center?
Oh, you got me completely confounded.
Nope.
1?
See, I did it 1, 2, 3, but you can't do this trick with just 3 balls. There's an extra one. In fact, there's an extra one right over here.
Wow.
And there's another extra one right over here. Now, they're both pretty big and they're both pretty heavy, but underneath the center cup is the biggest one of all, because there it is. No, that's not it. That's the biggest one, but I can't figure out where it comes from. And that's the cups and balls.
Oh, that's great, Paul. That is great. And you did that on Penn and Teller as well.
Yeah, I did this one on Penn and Teller. Yeah.
Well, and you had the climax with the Coke.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's great. Hey, I can't thank you enough for being my guest today. It was just so wonderful to get to chat with you a bit, and I look forward to the opportunity to see your show in Boston proper.
Yeah, it's in downtown Boston.
Okay,
yeah,
so
Parker House.
Which is Boston's just a beautiful city. I look forward to getting up there to see it once this is all over, and I look forward to seeing you in Batavia next year. Hopefully we'll be able to have another 4F convention. Seth Kramer wants to give you some applause for your brilliant work. So Seth says hello and enjoyed your performances. So once again, hang around for a few minutes. I want to just say goodbye to our audience and let them know whether or not that was fact or fake news, and then we'll just catch up in a few minutes. So. Okay. By the way, audience, if you want to get a hold of Paul, you can reach him at paulgertner.com. And if you're interested in seeing his show, the website is miraclesandotherdeceptions.com. That's the name of the show as well. So you can go to Paul's website. You can get information. I'm sure he'll keep you updated. If you send him an email, he'll let you know when the show is running again. So do come. Do go visit with him, his website. You'll enjoy that. So we had a little bit of fact or fake news.
Fact or fake news, fact or fake news, fact or fake news.
The only woman to fool Penn and Teller on their hit television series Fool Us was French card magician Alexander de Bouvier. And was that fact or fake news? And we had 2 people know that it is...
That's fake news, totally fake news, nothing but fake news.
Yes, that was fake news. 5 women have fooled Penn and Teller. They're Helen Coghlan. She's an Australian illusionist. Rebecca Herrera, a British mentalist. Alexandra, which we mentioned. And Suzanne, American close-up magician. And Leah Kyle, French quick change artists. You can see them all on YouTube. Hey, if you watch the show on YouTube, I hope you'll give us a thumbs up. I hope you will share it with your friends, and I hope you will subscribe. Come back next Monday at 11 a.m. We have another great show planned for you. We have Francis Minotti. Oh, this guy is another really super talented guy. I hope you'll join us. You're gonna love it. All right. See you next week. Thanks for watching Trick or Treat.